I've lived in New York before there was a law there, in a major, hugely populated place. And I'm from Oklahoma, which had the most restricted laws, but I can tell you, like, things changed literally overnight, with the strong efforts of lobbying and advocacy, Charlotte's Web and other things. Like, things really changed, and now, Oklahoma has very wide. There's a much more liberal attitude, and I think we really need some liberalism in our approach to cannabis. We have become the conservatism. This is conservative. This is a political issue, a political problem of fear, and I've associated this with the phobia of psychoactivation, which I think is tied to because THC actually has a lot of salubrious, salutary effects. There's a great public health studies that have come out of University of Indiana. There's a professor there who's done these really nice analyses of the reduction in obesity rates. You can study even cancer diagnoses, a few other things at a public health level. If you look at a correlation, there's a number of other correlations. I think THC is actually, so I think what it comes down to is a little bit of this fear of psychoactivation, and how do we deal with what I consider that falls in the recreational use of drugs. Is really a part of the human experience of dealing with existential reality of life and death. Honestly, if you don't have any recreation and you just go through life like that, your life quality will be very poor, and you don't have a way to get out of the constant dread of dying. I mean, we're all going to die one day, and everybody. I just want to say, I think this is an issue that I would recommend starting to open up a little bit, because once people sort of relax their worries about, oh gosh, somebody somewhere may be smiling a bit much or having a little bit of a reverie. My God, what has the world come to? And when we're really supposed to be, and of course, English culture is known for, not being but also being sort of in witty internally and having a bit of a laugh. But so I think it's understandable that people are going to need some range of recreation, because it's part of what I consider the spiritual or existential, not just me, many doctors and field of palliative care and integrative medicine. We know that that's necessary, because you're not going to be able to deal with them more. So if we can, and then if we say, okay, is THC part of that spectrum? Is alcohol part of that spectrum? Is mushrooms part of that? What other are there drugs? Does pharmacology have a role to play in spiritual and recreational human life? If so, how are we going to make sense of that? Are we going to be so militant about drawing a line that we won't even treat and fund the care of disabled children with chronic seizure disorders? I mean, that is what it's coming to. You would never think that a society would make parents who are already, saddled with the extra cost of raising a special needs child who's had all this brain injury from seizures, and they need special tutors, and they need special this and special that. And now I have to pay $1,000 a month or $12,000 a year, or whatever you said it was, $5,000 a year. Just to pay for a plant.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Tell me one quick thing to ask, because it's a bit early debate across here. If we did turn recreational in the UK, as you have in many of your states across there, did that impact on the medical prescription? Some concern here is that, okay, people will say, I'm fed up with the doctors, they're not going to give me what I want, I'm just going to go down the pharmacy, the dispensary down the road and get it because it's legal now. Is that detrimental to the proper medical use, or what are your view on that?
No, it's actually, I know, I got to see it here in Washington State, where we legalized in 2012, and we had medical cannabis since 2000 and 99 or 2000, around that time, 98, 99. So that was when medical was passed, and then 2012 recreational adult use, and that got implemented in 2014. So it's been about 8 years or something like that, 9 years. And no, what from a medical standpoint, I can tell you, it's actually a lot. There's a filtering effect that happens. So now the patients that sort of seek medical advice and medical prescription, or what we call authorization, they're very much selected because the patients who really didn't need a doctor's advice much in the first place were generally able to self-regulate and find out what works for them or experiment within parameters.
Yeah.
They generally did that, and they didn't come to the office. But now you have room in the office for patients. Well, I want to make sure this is not interacting with my other medicines. I want to make sure I know there's tons of varieties out there. Can you give me some guidance on how I would dose this, how I would approach this? Some patients need it for their work, their jobs, so it's still a very much alive and well system. And in fact, it's sort of,
good. That's
I think everyone sort of recognizes, oh, this is still here. So that must mean it's not just, it was not subsumed by recreational and it just disappeared. No, it's actually, and now doctors even, I think, respect it more. They're like, oh yeah, that's sort of that's still here because there's still a need for that. If you don't need it like that, then you can just, like you said, you're over 21, you can go to the shop and you don't have to go to no health insurer or doctor's order as necessary. So I do believe that it has been an improvement in people understanding the way in which a substance can live in different systems, and it's still valid for each system, as opposed to people always said, oh, medical is just a fake. That's not the real system. The real system that you want is adult use, and you don't really care about, and that's what I think these states have all learned. Now, there's been an issue where people have been lumped in, like there's less variety, there's less attention to the medical needs of patients in the shops, but there are still shops around that really do specialize in that.